Hey everybody, this is Perch. Did you read Ultimate X-Men? So Ultimate X-Men had kind of a weird effect in my shop, and I'm not sure if it was this way everywhere. I remember reading similar comments on boards and other things, but I don't know if this was a pervasive feeling about that series. But in general, the Ultimate line comes around, and the kind of very back of the napkin kind of take was that the Ultimates was the big the big one was the really important series that got a lot of the attention, and that Ultimate Spider-Man was, for all intents and purposes, the current Spider-Man. I mean, it was modestly changed, a little bit more accessible for kind of new readers who are coming into Spider-Man. But by and large, it closely resembled the original. Um, that Fantastic Four and Ultimate X-Men were the ones that kind of not necessarily deviated from the mainstream, but intentionally would bring up characters that were known and then twist them in some small way to create some new dynamic about the character. And I remember at the time myself personally being annoyed with Ultimate X-Men in particular for like, oh, we're introducing Longshot, but there's a twist. He's evil, and just some of that stuff got a little bit tiresome. I'm not sure which issue that was, but at some point it started feeling like they were leaning a little bit too heavily into kind of the teenage drama aspect of it. There was this, but they're still kids, and kids can't go off to school without permission, kind of stuff. And then it started to feel like they were just putting in kind of Easter egg bait for people. I remember their whole dynamic of Xavier had a cat called Mystique, and it had a little diamond on the forehead, and it was like, ooh, and then, there's little things like that. Mojo was kind of this reality TV show, kind of albino guy. I mean, there's parts to it that it felt like continuity bait, I guess is the best way to put it. It felt like they were intentionally doing little things that were, not necessarily for the sake of storytelling, but for the sake of subverting your expectations. Although, when I say that, it means something dramatically different than how it's often used today. I remember the Colossus is gay storyline being pretty well done in the sense of, I remember some people were annoyed, oh, Colossus isn't gay, but in the sense it was the Ultimate Universe, there were different versions of the characters, and they had a nice long build to him being gay that I thought was, fairly well done. And I don't remember a lot of people really complaining about that. I remember a handful of people being annoyed, but by and large, I think the build for him being gay was, how long did that play out for? I want to say at least 2 years. They were hinting at that, and then when they finally had him come out, it made sense in the storyline and what they were doing at the time. It was good. Um, but what's funny is I recently went back and reread it, and I found myself enjoying the comic a lot more because I was looking at it from a slightly different angle. I was looking at it from a perspective of, if I was to take a current Marvel or DC comic, current character has been going on for a while, and I intentionally wanted to create a brand new sandbox, a brand new universe where I could do whatever I wanted with these characters, but I still, would nod or lean on some of the past history, but I would do so in a way that gave me freedom to tell a different story for a new audience. This is arguably how you do it. I mean, the Ultimates was, I think, good at this as well. I think the Ultimates, definitely twisted and subverted some of the characters, but generally the Ultimates had kind of two more major arcs. You had arc number one, arc number two, and I'm completely forgetting about that awful Ultimates 3 bullshit that went down. But the first two arcs, I thought were, they told a really solid story. I liked those. I liked what Mark Miller and Brian Hitch did in those. I thought they were really, really solid. But if you're looking for something that's truly taking kind of a established continuity and then telling, 50, 60, 70 stories in that continuity, but being completely free and flexible with how it goes, telling them in a more modern way, then I think Ultimate X-Men, and to a lesser extent Fantastic Four, but really Ultimate X-Men, I thought did a really good job of that.
But it got me thinking a lot about kind of what people talk about with comics these days, which is, we need to meet a new audience. We need to get that new audience. We've got to do these things. We've got to change these characters. We got to adapt. And they're trying to do that in the mainline universe. And in some cases, they're gender swapping, race swapping, giving people new identities, all the rest. But it feels forced. It feels like they're trying to retcon in a change. It's like, hey, Betsy Braddock is gay now. She is a lesbian. She's after Rachel Summers. Hey, never mind the fact that Betsy Braddock, was after Doug Ramsey once upon a time. Would flirt with, well, I guess that was Quanon, but I mean, basically, it doesn't match with that character, like at all. Stories to stories. Rachel Summers is married to Franklin Richards in the future. We've seen that. So, and we've seen her date and do all kinds of. It just doesn't fit. Same thing to some extent with Kitty Pryde. I know people are pointing out that, well, Chris Claremont always intended that. Yeah, I don't think so. Not if you actually read those comics. It doesn't make sense. It's like pulling out, over and over again, people pull out one panel that could be read multiple different ways, and they're saying, see, this is proof, and ignore the 500 other panels that go on. This is like the case with Bobby Drake, where you've got one panel of him in X-Men #1, where he's like, girls, yuck. And, never mind the fact that he's supposed to be, 13? 12? Who knows? But it's silly. And yet you turn around, you look at the Ultimate X-Men, and you look at that Ultimate line, and they're race swapping, gender swapping, giving people new identities, and it seems fine. To me. Now I'm curious, if you show up in the comments and you say you hate it, fine. But to me it feels good, normal. I don't know about good. I mean, it just feels like they're telling a different story, and that's what you want, right? If you want to appeal to a new audience, then start with a clean slate. And so I guess the question I have is, what's even more aggravating and frustrating in all this is that Marvel and DC have so firmly leaned into the multiverse. They've got their method to do this. Just create another Ultimate Universe, create 5 Ultimate Universes, use these characters, take the Ultimate X-Men approach, and tell brand new, different stories where you mess everything around and call that Earth 514 or whatever. Go for it. Just tell the story you want to tell. What would be the harm in that? The problem is knowing that that's an option, that people could do it. When you see people making radical changes to characters in the 616 in the mainline universe, when they have not only an easy other way to do it, but frankly a smarter, more likely to get fan attention and get buys because people are starting fresh. When they don't do it, you wind up definitely coming to the conclusion that they just want to they want to directly put their nose, thumb their nose at long-term collectors. They definitely want to tell them go. It definitely feels like more of an attack when you have an easy and better route to do it. Does that make any sense? I don't know. Let me know. So Ultimate X-Men, have you read it recently? What'd you think of it? Did they do it well? I think they did it quite well. I'm curious what you think. And if they did it well, isn't that the answer for, if you want to appeal to new audience, do things for younger generation, do all kind of mess around with characters, isn't that your way? Seems obvious to me. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and thanks for listening.